One of the worst places to be as a painting contractor is on this hamster wheel of death where you are just stuck with your business. You're working 50 or 60 hours a week. You are constantly on the job site doing the painting. You're constantly trying to get the next customer, but you're getting beat up by competition and you can't quite get the prices you need. You can't seem to find good help. And you're just in this cycle of working 50 to 60 hours a week, can't find good help, can't get enough jobs, can't seem to get traction in your business, and you just feel stuck, and it's been going that way for a long time. You've tried a whole lot of things to fix it and nothing seems to work. And this is what I call the hamster wheel of death. In this video, we're gonna talk about how to get out of that cycle. So my name's Eric Barstow. I'm the founder of Painting Business Pro. Over the last decade, I've started or acquired 24 painting companies. I run 8 painting companies to this day that does over $20 million a year in business as of July 2024. And I've also had over 3,000 painting contractors take my coaching programs over the last decade. I've worked one-on-one with hundreds and hundreds of contractors to grow and scale their business. So I can totally relate to where you're at if that's you. I understand that. I've worked with hundreds of people to get out of that. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how do you get out of that vicious cycle if you're stuck in it. All right, and there's 3 things that we're gonna talk about. The first is we're gonna look a little bit more detail in the cycle, so we just understand like what's going on. We're gonna look at the problem, like why that cycle is perpetuating, why you're stuck in the cycle, and then we're gonna talk about how you fix it, how do you get out of it step by step, and that's what we're gonna get into. So let's dive in. All right, so this is a cycle that I see a lot of painting contractors stuck in, especially if you're doing like under $400,000 a year and you just can't seem to break out of it. So I'm gonna read over this, and as I go through this, this might not be exactly you, but you just wanna see, okay, which parts of this are you struggling with, so that in the rest of this video, we can see what's really the problem there and how do we fix it. Because once you start to fix the core problems in your business, what naturally happens is growth. So you should be able to build your painting company to 500,000, 800,000, 1.2 million, 2 million. Like that should be a pretty natural curve if you're just building the business in the right way by addressing some of these problems. So let's jump right into this cycle that I see so many contractors in. So I call this the vicious cycle. This is the hamster wheel of death, where you have just enough jobs to keep your guys busy for another week or two. When an estimate comes along, it's important to book the job because you need to keep your guys busy and you need to keep the work flowing. But you're competing against people who are charging less than you. And when your price is a little higher than the next guy, your customers want you to bring your price down to give you the job. As much as you don't want to lower your price, you do it because you'd rather get the job than not get the job at all. Because if you don't get the job, your guys won't have work and you won't bring money in. And it's frustrating because you know the quality of work you do is worth the price, but you keep feeling forced into working for less money. In fact, you end up making just enough money to pay your guys, pay your own bills, and keep the business going. And your bank account just isn't growing. You're working your ass off, but you're not getting traction. And what's worse is your referrals that you get now expect those same low prices. So now all of a sudden the low prices are actually what's keeping you in business, but it's really not keeping you in business in a good way. If you try to charge more to a referral, they're almost offended that you're charging more. So once again, you lower your price, and now all of the referrals you get are expecting cheap prices where you're barely making ends meet. You feel undervalued, underappreciated, but you don't feel like you have any other choice. So you decide you'll try to get some new clients. But then most of the marketing out there doesn't work, right? We've all used so many different marketing things that haven't worked, whether it's Angie or it's some website or SEO company or some Facebook ad company or it's some Google ads or whatever. You've tried marketing and it just doesn't work. Even when you have extra cash to invest in marketing, a lot of it doesn't work. You spend $1,500 on some new marketing thing, but it doesn't bring in any new customers. Maybe you get only 1 or 2 small jobs, or you win jobs by lowering your price again, which perpetuates the cycle. And it can be frustrating because you could have spent that $1,500 on a credit card, a vacation, taking your wife out to dinner, or something else. And so eventually you get frustrated, and after enough marketing doesn't work, you start to give up on it for a while until, all right, I need to do something again. You try something again, it doesn't work again. Which brings us back to the same problem, which is all of your referrals and word of mouth clients want low prices. You can't afford to pay your guys great money. And so you have a hard time finding great help. And if you do pay them well, then you're not making much money. So one way or another, you end up doing a bunch of the painting yourself because that's a big part of your income is you're doing the painting. Because if you hired other people to do all the painting, you wouldn't make enough money because you're not charging enough money to do it that way. So now you're in this position where you own a job. You got into business to create freedom. You got into business to make a lot of money. But now what you have is you just have a job where you work your ass off. You take all the risk, but you're not getting any of the upside, right? You're working 50 or 60 hours a week. You're not making tons of money. You're tired, you're beat up, but you also have to do everything. You're doing the painting, you're doing the invoicing, you're doing the estimates, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the financials, you're paying the taxes. Like, you're doing all this stuff and providing jobs to people, but you're hardly making more than you could make if you were just out there working a normal job. But you don't want to go work a normal job, because that's why you got into business in the first place, is because of the opportunity you see, and it just kills you. And I get that problem you're in, right? So this is not what you set out to do when you started your business. This is not what you envisioned, but you have a family to provide for, you have bills to pay, so you don't have a choice. You got to do what you got to do, and the cycle continues. And a lot of painting contractors never get out of this cycle. All right, so this is what I call the hamster wheel of death. This is the vicious cycle, and this is the cycle that you're stuck in. And so now let's start to look at what are some of the problems here. And these are super common problems. So don't feel bad if you're dealing with this. This is literally like tens of thousands of contractors out there dealing with these issues, and it's not just painting, it's in many of the trades. All right, so one of the biggest problems that you heard here, that where this all stems from, is I can't get enough money out of my customers. So my price is too low, right? I've got low prices. All right, but why do and because I have low prices, this leads to, I have low margins. What I also can't do, and I've got low margins, is I don't have, no money for marketing or to pay my guys well. So I've got to or if I pay them well, I'm not making enough money, so then I got to paint. All right, so these low profit margins because of low prices mean I don't have enough money to invest in marketing, and I can't pay my guys well. So let's just look at the two problems this leads to. Is we have not enough estimates. And when we don't have enough estimates, so what this no money to invest in marketing leads to is I don't have enough estimates. And if I don't have enough estimates, then then I kind of need to book them. Right? Because I've only got 4 estimates this week because I can't invest enough in marketing. I've only got 4 and I really need to book them. So therefore, I need to lower my prices to book the job, right? And because it's lower, now I've got these low margins. With the low margins, I don't have enough money to invest in marketing and to pay guys well. And so then I don't have enough estimates. So then I need to keep my prices low to win the jobs. And I'm just stuck in this. And every once in a while, I get a little bit of extra money. I pump it into marketing and then it doesn't work. And I'm like, damn it. It's all gone, right? So this is like the cycle that people are stuck in. All right, that's really the core problem. Now, if we start to look at like what's really at the core of this, and by the way, over here is also like, I can't find good help. All right, but that's kind of a separate issue we'll get into in another video. What we want to really look at is how do we break this cycle. All right, so the core problem here is actually price and sales. All right, so these are actually what are going to solve your problem, okay, is price and sales. So let me show you how that happens. So first of all, if we can charge a higher price, then we have a higher profit margin, and we can take that extra money and we can invest it into marketing, which leads to we have enough estimates, which means we don't need to book them all, and so we can charge higher prices. All right, so this is how we get out of it, is we need to actually just increase our price. The biggest issue that most painting contractors have is they don't charge enough money. And they don't charge enough money because part of it's because of this whole cycle. If I charge more money, then, right, now my referrals are expecting low prices and all that stuff. So this is the biggest issue, is I'm just not charging enough money, but you can't charge enough money because when you charge more, you don't win the estimates. And if you don't win the estimates, and you need to win the estimates, that's a problem. There are other people who are charging less. Customers are saying, hey, I got this other bid for cheaper. Customers want cheaper prices. And so we end up bringing our price back down. But the reality is that you can charge more money. And the way that you charge more money is that we got to get better with our sales process. All right, so we got to look at price. We got to increase our price. We've got to increase our sales process. And I'm going to talk more about this in a minute so we can get more into the solutions. And then we can increase our marketing. All right, now once we're doing this, the business will grow so much that 2 things happen. Number 1, you can pay guys well to do all the work, and you don't have to do it anymore because you're now making enough money as the business operator that you don't need to do the painting to make money, which frees you up a ton of time. And now you start to move into some higher income activities. So the business is going to grow enough that you can hire other guys to do this. You don't have to do the painting yourself. And that's going to make a huge impact on the business. All right. So now I want to take a minute and I want to look at some of the numbers of what it looks like when you start increasing price and sales. And let's start getting into some details about increasing price, increasing sales, and increasing your marketing, and how this is really going to be the way out. And then we'll wrap up the video with exact next steps for you to take. All right, so first we need to look at price. And as we go through this, we're going to use big companies as a reference point, because there are tons and tons of really big companies out there, like hundreds and hundreds or thousands of really big companies. And you can't become a big company when you're stuck in this vicious cycle. You can't become a big company when you're not charging good enough prices. You can't become a big company if you can't invest in marketing. So they must be doing something different than people who are stuck in the vicious cycle. All right, so the first thing we're going to look at is price. All right, so I want to talk to you about why you can charge more money than you're charging. So the first thing is because the big companies do, right? Big companies charge more. And big companies charge more because they have to. Like, you can't be a big company without charging more money than a smaller company, because big companies have more overhead, they have more staff, their gross profit changes. Like, you have to charge more as a big company. In fact, the bigger we get, the more we charge. And the mistake I think a lot of people make in their thinking is, I can't charge as much as a big company because I'm not a big company. It's like, no, that's not why that's not why their prices are high. It's not because they can be high. They're high because they have to be high, and they still get those deals done because of their sales and marketing. But I think you, as a smaller contractor, actually have an advantage. I can tell you, as someone who runs a lot of big companies, one of the biggest things that we're challenged with is, how do we deliver the same level of experience to our customers as a small company can? See, when you're stuck in the vicious cycle and you're the one who's doing the answering the phone, doing the estimates, managing the projects, you're the point of contact directly for your customers. A bigger company doesn't have that. A bigger company has one person answer the phone, another person does the estimate, another person scheduling the project and managing it, and then there's a foreman on site. You can basically do all of those, and it's way easier to deliver an exceptional customer experience when you're the same point of contact through that whole process than trying to get your whole team like perfectly on the same page. So I think you actually have an advantage as a small company, because you can just be like, look, I'm the owner. I'm going to be the one directly working with you. I will be here on site. I will follow up. You don't need to tell them you're painting. You don't need to make those promises, but you have a sales advantage. And so customers are absolutely willing to pay you just as much as they're willing to pay the big company. All right, and big companies are commanding these prices. Now, are there companies out there offering cheaper prices? Yep. And do some customers want to go with those companies? Yep. But are there also customers who want higher prices and are totally happy to pay those? Yep. So which customer do you want to try to work with? Do you want to work with the ones that are trying to nickel and dime everybody and get it done for the cheapest possible? Or do you want to work with the clients who are happy to pay more for a great service and trust? All right, so that's the first thing to understand is big companies charge a lot, so you can charge a lot, and you don't have a sales disadvantage. The only sales disadvantage you have is that you don't have a sales process and they do. That's the disadvantage. It's not company size. All right, so the next thing that we can understand is that there's just fundamental economics of a marketplace. All right, so in your market, whatever market you're in, whether it's New York, Los Angeles, Houston, Texas, Colorado, or you're in a rural city, it doesn't matter where you are. Wherever you are, there are two main expenses that go into a paint job, right? You've got materials and you've got labor. All right, so when we bid out a house, no matter who's painting the house, it's 20 gallons. We need 20 gallons of paint on that house, and the paint we need, the customer maybe wants this product, right? So the material cost is mostly fixed for all competitors. Now, some people get better rates on paint and stuff, but it's the difference between, $1,500 and $1,200. It's not a huge change. And the bigger companies have better rates, which also have higher prices on their paint jobs. So the materials is stuck. All right, labor is also mostly stuck. So when we bid a project, we bid it to say, hey, this is a 50-hour job. Now in your market, labor costs the same. So, guys who do prep and, You know, a lot of the more basic stuff on a project are maybe 20 bucks an hour, and then the higher paid guys are maybe $35 to $45 an hour. That's the market. And your average labor cost for an hour of painting work is $27 in your market. There is an average. And so labor and material costs are the same. What that means is that you have a project that you're bidding on, and the labor and material cost is $3,000, let's just say. So there's going to be some people who come out there and bid it for like $2,800, right? Because they're going to pay their guys even cheaper, and they're going to do work themselves. And these are guys who are stuck in the vicious cycle. All right. And then you've got companies up here that are charging like $4,500. Now this is usually one step up from the vicious cycle. This is people who are doing $300,000 to $500,000 or $600,000 a year. They're not, most days they aren't painting, and they're making decent net profit. They're maybe making 15 to 20% profit at the end of the day on 500K, right? So they're making 100 grand. They're still working hard, but they're not painting every day. They've got a little bit better business. And then there's companies out there that are charging $6,000 to $7,000. All right, these are typically going to be the biggest companies. Why? Because the biggest companies have the most overhead. Our company would not survive if we weren't charging more than double the cost. All right, so our costs might be down to this 2,800 number because of material savings and stuff with the paint store. So we might be at 2,800, but we're charging $6,000 to $7,000. So this is the market. Every market has it. Now, the biggest companies do the most work. Therefore, the biggest companies doing the most work means we've got a ton of customers out there who are paying these numbers. Tons of them. You just need to peel off those ones. We want to target these customers, not these customers. There's plenty of these customers too. There's some of these customers, there's some of these. Here's your job. I want to go from here to here to here. All right, and I can teach you how to do that, but for now, we're just going to focus on this jump. All right, which is you got to charge more than you're charging now. And it doesn't take you much to get out of this vicious cycle. All right, so we're going to look in the numbers about that in a second. So that's why you can charge more. We just went through the economics of a market, understanding that there's a certain cost to paint this job, and this is going to be the range of prices. Now imagine you're a customer and you get 3 estimates, and one person's charging 28, one's charging 45, and one's charging 6,000. What do you make of that? And the truth is that, like, what customers make of that is what's going on here. Now, who am I going to go with? And some customers are just going to go with the low price because that's all they care about is price. Some customers will go with the middle price because they're like, I don't know, that's a lot, that's little. And then some customers just go to the high price. I'm often one of those customers. I'm like, cost more, must be better. I'm going with that one. And those are the customers we want to be serving, right? So if you go out and you do an estimate and you're booking 1 out of 3 estimates, which client do you want? You want this one, or this one? Obviously you want that one. So that's what we want to position our business around. But this one, they're paying more because they expect it to be a better service. And the way that they expect it to be a better service without ever working with you is the sales process, right? So that's the differentiator between this person, this person, this person for a customer is I'm getting a little taste of what it's like to work with you in the sales process. How do you answer the phone? How do you conduct your phone call? How do you show up to my house? Do you show up on time? What's your communication skills like? How thorough is your estimate? How detailed is your contract? Do you deliver it on time? There's a lot of things that go into the sales process that can position you differently so that customers they're not just looking at 3 prices. They're looking at 3 prices and 3 experiences. And ultimately, we're in an industry where there's a lot of distrust. A lot of customers don't trust contractors to do a good job. And so the most important factor in our industry is trust. So which of these prices do they trust? Because it's like, yeah, that's great that it's only $2,800, but like, that could be a nightmare. I've heard about the nightmares. Is this person going to run away with my deposit? Is this going to be a nightmare project? Is the paint going to fail in 2 years? Is it going to take 2 weeks to do? So maybe I should go with this one. The customers we want, they're going to hire the person they trust the most to deliver a great experience. All right, so this is also all kind of going over here into sales and mindset. All right, so let's jump over into sales and mindset, which is first we need to make a mindset shift. All right, you've got to start to shift from customers only care about price to no, the differentiating factor is not price. It is the sales process. And the difference between really big companies and really small companies is not the prices they charge. They do charge different prices, but they charge different prices because they have different sales processes. And when you can charge more money because you have a better sales process, you can grow a way more successful company. And it's really easy to start improving your sales process. So this is where most people are, and this is where great companies are, and you can start doing little steps up until eventually you get really strong with sales so that you can close a high percentage of projects at these prices. And that is how you build the business. If you don't do this, if you don't improve sales, then the only factor you have to work on is price. And so that's the only trick you've got in your bag, is I can lower the price. See, what we do is we go out there, and this is literally one of the stories I tell a lot, is my business partner, Ben, this was years ago, but he was doing a quote. The quote was 10 grand. The customer came back to him and said, hey, we really like you. We want to work with you, but you're the highest quote by like a couple $1,000s. Can you come down at all? And he goes, honestly, like that's what I can do this for. Like with all the quality and everything we talked about that you're looking for, like that's the price that I can do this job for. I could maybe knock off like $200. And they said, okay, we'll go with you. And sometimes we'll also tell people, hey, if you think that other guy is going to do as good a job or better job than us, and you trust them just as much as you trust us, then I would say save the $2,000 and go with them. And customers say, okay, I'll go with you. And we win those jobs not because of our price. We win those jobs because the customer experience, because of trust, because we do a great job, and then because we charge more money, we can do a better job. We can invest more in our people. We can invest more in our processes. We aren't run ragged because we're underpricing our projects. All right, so sales is the key. So the mindset shift is, it's not about price. It's about my salesmanship. Once you make that mindset shift, then it's how do I start improving my salesmanship? Because when I start improving my salesmanship, I can charge more money. And when I can charge more money, I make more money. So let's jump back to price real quick and just look at the math on that. So let's just say, you're doing $5,000 a week in business. All right, so right now you're doing $5,000 per week. Now, if you can just raise your prices by $500 per week, now you would be doing an extra $500 per week. Now, where does that money go? Straight in your pocket. All right, so that's an extra $25,000 per year. That's a big deal. All right, but what that's going to allow us to do, this extra $500 a week, is that's going to allow you to maybe take 300 of it and put it into marketing, and then 200 of it, and we can put it in your pocket. So you're making a little more money, but now we're doing a little bit more on marketing. All right, because we're doing more on marketing, now you're doing 2 more estimates a week, which means now it's not $5,000 a week. Now maybe you're up to like $7,000 a week, $7,000 per week. Sorry, this is getting messy. You following that though? So now we're at $7,000 a week, and your margin, and you've got other people who are doing this work. So now you're at like another $1,000 a week in profit. So now you can take 800 of that, put it in your pocket, and put a couple more hundred into marketing. And now you're starting to do so many estimates that you're not desperate anymore. And now we start getting better at sales. So you didn't raise your prices by 10%, you raised by another 10%, and then another 10%. And that's how you step your way out of the vicious cycle. That's it. You do a little price increase, and then you make your sales a little better, and then you put a little more in marketing. All right, and then you do it again, and you just loop this. All right, you just do it again and again. A little higher price, a little better at sales, a little more marketing. A little higher sales, little higher price, a little more sales, a little more marketing. Now, as you do that, you're gonna be busier and busier doing estimates, which means you're gonna do less and less painting, and that's when we could get into some of the other videos you can check out on the channel about subcontracting and labor force and all that. We're gonna save that on this video, because right now this is the step out of the vicious cycle, or off this hamster wheel of death. Now, there's 3 important things we need to talk about with marketing. The first thing is you have to invest in marketing. You have to. This is how your business goes. You got lead, estimates, jobs. That's it. If you don't invest in marketing, you don't have more leads. So you're fixed on estimates and you're fixed on jobs, and you're going to be in a scarcity mindset where you're scared to raise your price. You have to invest in marketing. You have to invest in marketing. All right, the next thing you got to do is you got to understand return on investment. All right, so a lot of people, give you an example I hear all the time, which I'm not endorsing Angie and Home Advisor. I'm not a huge fan of the companies, but it's a good example to use. So I hear a lot of people say, yeah, I spent $2,000 on Angie and I got 15 leads and I only set up 3 estimates and there were these 12 that were just total garbage BS leads. That company screwed me. They charged me for leads that were fake and I'm canceling. And I say, well, what happened at the 3 estimates? And they're like, oh, I booked 2 jobs for 10 grand. And I say, oh, okay, so you spent 2,000 and you booked 10 grand? Okay, well, what's your profit on that? And they might say, hey, well, I make $4,000. I'm at 60%, which is where a lot of people are. And I'm like, okay, so you made 2,000 in profit? Okay, and how much? And that was in 1 week. They sent you all those leads in 1 week. Okay, so if you just kept spending that money, you're making about $2 grand a week. That seems pretty good to me, right? So we need to understand ROI. Look, there's a lot of marketing that sucks. There's a lot of leads that are going to be bad. There's a lot of leads that aren't going to turn into anything, but you have to understand that, like, how much money did I put in? How much money did I get back out? And this is also why our price is important, so that we have enough margin. Because let me give you another quick example here. If we charge $10,000 and it costs us $6,000 to produce that job and marketing was $2,000, we're still making $2 grand. That's good. Now, if you weren't raising your price enough and this price was only $8,000 and then $6,000 to produce and $2,000 on marketing, then you make $0. We have to get our prices up because that's how you afford marketing. How do we get our prices up? Well, you got to get better at sales. And by the way, when you get better at sales and your prices go up, you also make your marketing better. Because I get 10 leads turns into, let's just say 5 estimates. If I sell 1 job versus 2 jobs, that makes marketing more affordable. All right, so these are the 3 things that lead to getting out of the vicious cycle. And you can literally do it in little steps. All right, so I told you I would end with like exact next steps. So here's what I would do if I was working one-on-one with you. So first I'd say, look, start adding 10% to every estimate. So when you go in there, if you were gonna charge $3 grand normally, charge $3,300. And if you get pushback, you can always drop it back to $3,000. But some customers are just gonna say, okay. And when you get that money, put that money in a separate account so it doesn't just get lumped into all your expenses. Put it in a separate account called your marketing account because you're climbing out of the vicious cycle right now. You're getting off the hamster wheel right now. So that's the first step, is charge an extra 10%. That's gonna add up pretty quick. In a month, you might be stuck in this cycle for years. So be patient getting out of it. So you raise your price, you bring in an extra few $100 a week, let's just say. After a couple months, you got extra cash. Go start watching sales videos. I got a ton of stuff on the YouTube channel for free. A lot of other people have sales videos. Go start implementing that stuff, but check that out and start improving sales. And you'll start being able to charge more. I'll tell you one more quick story, just because I want to make sure this point gets in for you, because you've got to get out of this cycle. So David is a painting business pro member of mine, and he started the program, and he was in a cycle similar to the vicious cycle. And the very first estimate he did, he followed the program, and actually in my program, I told him to raise his price a lot more than 10%. I had him raise his price about 65%. So he went into his very first estimate after going through the program, some of the program, and he's like, okay, I'm doing the sales process. I'm gonna follow the pricing Eric says. And he calculates his numbers and he's like, whoa, normally I would charge $3 grand on this job. Eric says to charge 5. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna go for it. And he just walked in there, presented his price, and the customer just said, okay, great, and signed. And on that one day, he made an extra $2,000 because he just asked for more money and improved his sales a little bit. All right, so it doesn't take much to get out of this cycle. First step, start increasing price. Second step, start improving sales. Third step is you need to start investing in marketing. And that is your way out of the vicious cycle. And then, I got loads more stuff that we can help you with building your business, but we'll leave it there for now for this video. If you have questions or comments, drop them below. I'll do my best to respond to them. I hope this helps.